We know the 70 or 80% vaccination goals. So how are we tracking in our efforts to get there? We're going to crunch the numbers every Thursday on this show with my colleague Tom Connell. And Tom, to start with, how are we looking in terms of those 70, 80% goals at a national level?
The all-important scoreboard, Kieran. So look, thankfully this is ramping up as this vaccine rollout does begin to progress. At a national level, when we look at the figures in terms of where we're at the moment, we do have at first dose level of just over 10 million there, so 49.45%, nearly half of the country or the eligible population. It's over 16s, by the way. Second dose, 27.5%, as you see there, 5.6 million. The crucial other part of this that we're also going to show you for each element is the rate of increase. That's vital in terms of how we're tracking. Now, that rate, in the last week, this is a weekly increase, 4% of the population got their first dose. It's a pretty good effort at this stage, and 3.7% got a second dose. As for the dates that we hit, again, this is national on these current rates. On those rates of increase, first dose 70% September 21, November 3 for the second dose, and then we go over and we look at 80% when we really should have the end of lockdowns October 8 and November 22.
Yeah, encouraging. And which state is leading, and what are we keeping an eye on here?
Well, that's an interesting question. So Tasmania, we've heard a lot about that, a smaller jurisdiction. It's leading at the moment in terms of its rollout. When we look at Tassie, 54.2% first dose, 33.7%. The rate of increase is what's interesting. As we look at the rate of increase, well, let's get the rate of increase here, 2.45% first dose. That's well behind the national average, and that's been dropping down 4.4% for second dose. So that 2.45, we're going to keep looking at that. The higher and the closer we get to 80, the more that's going to slow. As a result of those very different rates of increase, first dose you see here September 30, very soon after 70% gets to a second dose. When we extrapolate out to getting to 80%, here's where these figures won't make any sense. October 29, I've put an asterisk here, October 29 as well. They're not going to happen on the same day, no. Kieran. But that first dose, the closer we get to 80, the more that's going to slow. As we keep updating this, that's the battle, isn't it? You get those last few people willing to get the vaccine. That's why it's going to go slower the closer we get to it.
And we've got one state in particular lagging behind amid the vaccine blitz elsewhere.
Yeah, so WA is trying to get going. Perhaps not as much as incentive. 43% first dose, 24% second dose. Remember, borders are up, no COVID in the community, and very little this year. If we look at their rate of increase, also below the national averages, 2.85% first, 3.7%. We're flashing a bit, so perhaps that's an alarm for you in WA to go and get your vaccine. First dose dates here, October 21 and November 10. So this is, towards the back end compared to other averages. And when we get to 80% and we look at that for WA, we're talking deep into November. Remember, this is sort of an ideal scenario and things going well. So Suddenly you think, will they get it done by Christmas?
Yeah, it's still well beyond some of the other states, particularly the state which is not really a surprise that it's got the fastest growth rate right now.
Massive surge. Looking at New South Wales, of course, we know you're in lockdown. This is the only path out. 5.95% is the rate of increase in New South Wales. Their rate of first dose, by the way, is 54%. So the rate of increase, that massive rate, actually gets first dose there. It's just whipping through quite quickly here. So here's the rate of increase, 5.95%, a huge number. That means 6% of people, eligible people across the state, got their first dose in 1 week, 6% in a week. Massive rate. Here are the dates, 70%, we're going September 5, which is very soon, and October into 70. If we might get the last slide up, we're having a little bit of an issue here, but when we look at 80%, these are the real freedom days for New South Wales, September 17 and November 12. Now again, these numbers, the closer you get to them, we can likely see them push out a bit, but these are the current rates of increase over the past week. These are the key days, so you can circle them in your calendar. But we'll keep updating and see how these figures and where they're headed in some of the key areas.
As certainly some jurisdictions speed up at the moment, don't they, Tom? Thank you for that.